And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, for the last part of this session of Burning Wheel. So, when last we saw your characters, you had successfully navigated the northern territory and went into Lylan, picked up a hidden shipment of fairy dust, as you've colloquially named the drug that the elves are making and sending your way, and successfully brought it back again to Manningbridge. Now, when we fade in on the next scene, it has been like a day or two since then. You've had like time to bring everything home, stash everything, and like put everything away in the safe house. And now we see you doing something. So before we see you do that something, I have a question. So you left Evelyn in charge for around 14 or so days, and with
Bad
the
idea.
with the mission statement, let's go out and fuck up the present dealers who are like slinging drugs, and give them the choice of either switching sides, dropping their present crews, and coming to us, and they can keep their corners and they can keep their cash, or if they choose not to, get fucked up, either beyond recognition or permanently dropped in a ditch somewhere. Point is to get them out of the business. Now, Evelyn has been doing what she's been instructed to do, and she's been like rounding up like members of the gang and bringing them back to Manningbridge, so your gang is like more complete and less spread out. Although there's probably like still one guy in like each key point along your trade route to like maintain what used to be. And the question then becomes, of course, how well did Evelyn do? So to determine that, and to kind of set the scene for what you return to and what you have to deal with now, I think the question becomes, in you three people's opinion, what would you want to ideally, like, what happened ideally with this organization? How well did you do in your absence?
How well did we do, or how well did Evelyn do?
No, like how well did your organization fare in your absence?
Exceptionally
well. Ideally, from Shehao's perspective, Evelyn fucked up really bad.
All right.
So, no, I think she did a sterling job.
Cool. So how Evelyn did is a good question, but I guess that boils down to, we're gonna make a Die of Fate roll to see, like, did it go hooray or did it go oh dear no, and I guess what I'm asking you to describe is what is hooray, and if it's oh dear no, then yeah, the Evelyn fucked up and something is like going wrong.
Yay!
So what is the hooray option? What is the ideal option?
There's no such thing as an ideal option. It's only what we prefer. What's the preferred option?
Yeah, what's the preferred option?
It went well. That we've got a good place to start from with the next start. We're in a position where we can push forward.
Like that's you got like some good spots, like one or two corners that is now like sort of securely yours, and there has not been that much of a retaliation going on from the other gangs and the people you're screwing over.
Not yet, but I'm sure that will come later. That there will be a counter attack, or whether it's how coordinated it is will vary. But yeah, a push that has been made that people didn't expect, and they'll have a chance to recover and then push back.
Okay. So let's have a look at the Die of Fate mechanics, because if you roll, I think it's if you roll a 1, then it goes the way you guys want. And if we roll a 6, then it very much doesn't.
And anything in between is... Is there no in between?
On a roll of 1, the player get what they were asked for. No other result counts. Okay, so it's basically, on a roll of 1, it went swimmingly, and let's say on a roll of 6, it went terribly, and on a roll of 4 to 5, it just like it's proceeded, but it's been stalled, and like there's a stalemate, and she's bleeding the competition, but making no headway yet.
Okay.
Can I add to the 6 then?
Yeah, sure.
No. If it goes really bad, perhaps she lost a few men.
Yeah, I think that was my presumption from the beginning, is that if it went really bad, then like
Oh, sorry.
some of your guys are like needing to recover for maybe a few months, and maybe some of them are dead.
I hope it's a 6,
Rasmus, be quiet.
because then I can gloat at her.
So one of you give me a roll of a die of fate in the chat.
Any one of us?
I don't know, just some of you roll a d6.
Wait a second.
Boom, son! Looking at a cozy one.
Aww.
Okay, cool. So
Screw you!
things went really well for you guys.
You
I
cannot tell how.
wanted to float.
I've never been so smugged about having won in my entire life.
I'm happy to be part of this experience for you, man.
I wanted to
You
see
denied
it
me
go
my
horribly wrong so we could gloat at her. Yeah, you should probably have taught them how to use a knife, shouldn't you, bitch?
Exactly.
No, she got shit done.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a die of fate, right? So
Aw.
fate has decreed that it turned out she was totally right. That they just needed to like follow her example, and it turns out that some of your guys have like learned how to hold a blade without cutting off their fingers.
That is very good.
So, the context as you return, and like what you've been familiarized with when you came back, and like have been back for around 2 days, is that she has she gathered the men back from like the other chains and the other links in the chain, and they've been like striking out the people who you usually like deal the drugs to. They've just kind of like met with them and talked to them, and then leaned on them and been like, so we're doing this on our own, so we're not gonna really just supply you with anything, so you're kind of just like in your own boat, you know, find something else to deal with, to like find some other drugs to sling, I guess, because you're not getting like the exclusive product. And then through leaning on them like that and being like intimidating and holding it over them, that you could still like deal in fairy dust if you wanted to deal for us. You just have to come and work for the boss. Like some of these people have caved, and you now have, I want to say, you have two corners secured in Pike Market that have regular traffic, and that you can use as like a place where you can sell your narcotics without that much of a worry. Naturally, eventually, someone is going to take umbrage with this. I think initially, like, there has already been a repercussion. Some goons got sent from one of the local gangs, who you get to name now, Chris, because you succeeded. So, who is this local gang who you stole territory from?
Good question. Let's say I stole. Let's say that I stole territory from. Let me look. Could you could you do me a favor? Could you bring up the map of the city, please?
Absolutely. There we go.
Excellent, thank you.
And so the little red dot next to Pike Market, that is where your warehouse is hidden.
Yep. So it's going to be fairly local to the area. So
it's somewhere in Pike Market.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I'm going to say. Let's go for something alliterative. Let's call them the Pike Market Pincers.
Pike Market Pincers.
Because why the fuck not?
Cool. Like, embellish a bit on this. What are some details about this gang?
Let's see. God, you're asking me to come up with this stuff on the spot. And
Are
I'd
they
say
like
that
primarily a drug running operation? Like, do they just sell drugs, or are they like a crime family who run protection rackets? What's up with the MO?
No, I think it's definitely more of a. I think it's no, it's not a crime family. I think it's mostly it's sort of thugs and bully boys with drugs racket and probably occasionally other more fleshy forms of trafficking.
I see. So they have like their hands in the prostitution.
Prostitution. Yes, I'd say yes. That sounds about right.
Very good. Right? Pike market pincers, and they're like they're thugs and bully boys. We're not dealing with like this isn't Owen Gray we're talking about. It's not like
No.
a crime conglomerate. So these are
Yes.
people who would write tags on the walls.
Yes. If they had spray paint of some kind, well, they can probably do it with some paint or.
I mean, medieval
Sure.
graffiti was a thing. So
It was, of course, it was.
uh,
Graffiti goes back to all ancient times.
Yeah. So just like to pick your brain for like the last bit of info here. So who runs
Yep.
the Pike Market pincers?
A gent. No, not a gentleman.
A rough lout.
Yes, a rough lout by the name of by the name of Jakob. Jakob, what's his last name going to be?
Jakob.
No.
Yeah?
Yep.
Jakob Swinton.
Yeah, go on. We'll go with that.
Where's the name Swinton from? It's oh god, what's she called?
Tilda Swinton, you're
Tilda
thinking of.
Swinton. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. So we've named. So yeah. It's because you watched Doctor Strange recently, isn't it?
I guess.
Just
yeah.
to timestamp this episode, this came out roughly a couple of weeks after Doctor Strange, the film,
Thank
was
you
released.
so much for dating the episode, you fucking nerd.
That's the way time works. The time flows, things get fixed in it.
It's true. Okay. So the situation you're being made privy to as you come back is like Evelyn and the boys have taken over some corners from the Pike Market pinchers. You have like I want to say like 6 dealers who used to work for the pincers have just like completely switched sides. Like they work for the suppliers. And now the pincers can no longer supply them because you're not selling the drugs anymore. You're dealing them yourselves. So they've switched. The pincers made like they sent some thugs to deal with the situation. Right, some people came and as Evelyn expected, they came and like they asked, "What's up? What is this thing we're hearing? You're not working for us. Where's our money? You don't just quit." And she was ready with some of her men, like preempting this intimidation tactic. So they just like came out of the woodworks and like behind carts and like from nearby alleyways and just beat the living shit out of these people and sent them like all back to their boss in various forms of decommission. So now the pincers have had a bloodied nose for like the past 7 days or so, and have not made a counter move in that time. They may be Evelyn, when she mentioned this to you upon your return, she's thinking that they're either biding their time, like thinking of other options or looking for an opening, or they're expecting you to like come forth with conditions, or they just like cower in their houses waiting for the real badasses to come and destroy them.
Okay. That sounds good. So yeah, we're in a good position then.
Yeah, that's the situation you are being briefed on when you return. And now, of course, we cut past all the bullshit, right? The drugs are stacked in the warehouse. No trouble there. The cart is out back. Your one remaining strider is grazing out there, being tended to by convoy on off days.
Crackle,
And that's like the situation for you guys when you return. So with that in mind, I want to see a scene of. I think first I want to see a scene of Shiha. So, like 3 days or so, like let's say 2 days after your return, We fade in on a scene of Shihao. What is he doing?
Fapping violently behind a bush.
No. I think since the meeting with the weirdo people from Beyond the Storm, he's been very quiet and thoughtful.
So
And that
new.
hasn't stopped. I mean, it's to the point where he even passes up opportunities to be sarcastic.
Oh no.
Whoa, he's sick.
Which is very out of character for him. And I think when we see him now, he's sitting somewhere where he's, not necessarily easy to see, and observing Conway.
Yeah. It's like peeping
Just
on your
observing
teacher.
the old man.
All right. So.
Yes and no. It's not like he's actively hiding, but he has placed himself in a spot where it would be harder to see him.
Maybe you're like you're looking like out a boarded up window, like on the back. So you're just basically standing inside, and you happen to be in a position where you can look out a window and see him tending this like playing with the Strider out in the pen behind the warehouse.
Yes, he is very intently staring at the man.
Yeah, your very old and very like decrepit, thin, spindly looking teacher is sitting there with a head full of gray hair, very thin gray hair, and basically like he's holding like I think a piece of straw and just like wickering it back and forth, and the Strider is like biting at it and like is totally tunnel visioned on the piece of straw and doesn't take a moment to think and like raise his head and just take it out of his hands. And he seems to just be doing that with like some kind of like peaceful, like with the peaceful zen of a man who doesn't really need to be anywhere else or do anything else.
And I think some of the thoughts that are running through Shihao's head, and some of the things he's looking at or for, is the fact that this guy is ancient. And yet, he doesn't seem to have that much trouble with, age.
Yeah.
And I think he's observing a lot about how his mentor moves and yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. So yeah, we see you staring at and observing your master as he's sitting there taunting a goat, and I think as you do that, eventually, you like your gaze travels down to that piece of straw, like being wickered back and forth, and eventually like the straw stops, and the Strider finally like bites down on it, and like raises its head and like yanks it out of his like out of Conway's hands and starts like munching on it, and because you can't help yourself, your gaze travels back to Conway, and he's looking at you. Like with an impassive face, basically just like looking back at you, looking old and full of wisdom.
I think what we see is, Xiao looking through this window, and his eyes narrows ever so slightly, and he just keeps staring.
The old man's eyes also narrow, and then like you see like a smile like form on his face, like just like a pleasant, content smile.
In the end, Xiao makes a summoning motion, like "Come hither, old man," and goes, downstairs to find somewhere they can sit, I guess.
This is where I would vote back in Spooky.
So yeah,
he has been sitting there looking for me for 3 hours straight. I'm starting to feel a little uncomfortable.
You make like a beckoning motion, and his pleasant and content smile turns into a face you've seen so many times, right? It's like it's the face of teacher being like no, like that face, and then he's just like tapping the bench he's sitting on, like tapping the space next to the bench he's sitting on. I mean, no, you can come to
Now,
me,
if-
you young whippersnapper.
Now, if only the Shihao had the ability to turn into a black mist and just kind of creep down there.
I mean,
But he
that
doesn't.
sounds like a goal to
So-
me. So,
He returns to the staring for a while,
mhm.
just trying to see if basically if Conway gives up on his come to me.
Yeah. So he's sitting there with like the patience of a tree root. Maybe he needs help standing up.
And then after a long while, Shihao does a dramatic turn on his heel and marches down to the old man.
Caving. Okay. Yeah. So we see you like snap around and turn, and then like it's a crossfade to you sitting next to him. But it's like pan sideways, and we see that. So
I think before Shihao sits down, he would have stood in front of Conway and stared some more at him.
Yeah.
With a slightly displeased expression on his face.
Let's just go to that then. So we cut to you standing in front of him in that case, looking displeased, and he's looking up at you like with the content old man smile, stroking his gray stroking his gray almost entirely pearly white beard, and like he squints up at you against the sun that's probably like high in the sky and shines down into the space you have behind your hideout. He leans forward on his elbows and says, "What do you want, Grovka?"
Kald han ham lige grovkornet.
Grovka, like jeres dialekt betyder lille kalv.
Oh. He should call him Whippersnapper
Yes,
then.
that was Danish, by the way, Daniel.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
but
I
that's because
totally
he wanted
shifted
it.
out. I shifted out of English. Very bad. So yeah, it's in your dialect it means a little calf.
He should call him
Um,
Whippersnapper instead.
You are remarkably old for someone who's lived most of his life in proximity of the Stormlands and who practices such a dangerous art.
I am remarkably old for any person.
Exactly. Common sense dictates that you should have died a long time ago.
I mean, it's not like the old bastard hasn't tried. I just keep telling him I'm not ready.
Interesting. Shihao sits down next to him, and then looks around to see if anyone's nearby.
I don't think anyone is.
Good. How much do you know about what goes on beyond the storm?
More than I would like. Less than you would find interesting. It's a very big world, Krovka. Even the one part of it we know about.
Unsurprisingly, my trip with Mr. Smolak proved enlightening in the size of the world and the denizens behind the storm. And he gives him a look like, is that not intriguing?
Looks back at you like, very curious. Please, tell me more.
It would appear that those who provide Mr. Smolak with fairy dust are, well, they're not stormborn, and they are not the, what we call them, the Grey Men.
Yeah,
What was the name for the other?
there are the Iron Men, and like I guess that would be the dwarves and the gray demons, the gray monsters, something for orcs.
And they are neither Iron Men nor Grey Demons. They live even further away than them.
Curious, very. What
They
have you
refer
learned?
to us as mortals.
Krovka, you will come to understand when you broaden your mind enough that there are many things in this world that claim far greater ancient ancienity than us simple humans. All the same, you will also come to find that the wheel continues to turn, and nothing is immortal.
I suspect they are only immune to the ravages of time, not injury or disease. What do you know of them?
Of creatures from beyond the storm?
Hmm.
Only hearsay and riddles. In time, should you want it, I can teach you a bit about that stuff. Although, if I am to be perfectly honest, you are far too young to burden yourself with knowledge that old.
Xiao looks at him very intently because, yeah.
Yeah, so you want to convince him to teach you?
Yes, I guess I want to.
Alright, so
Um,
just give me a taste of how you go about doing that, and then we will set a task for that intent.
I think, let's see. Well, what is the point of a teacher if not to teach? You have a willing student.
It is true. The point of a teacher is to teach his good students, but it is also the purview of the teacher to teach what he wishes when he wishes. You are ready for many things, Krovka, but there are many things you are not. Why should I teach you this instead of teaching you what I believe you so rightly should learn?
I believe it might soon become not a matter of what I'm ready to learn as much as what I need to learn. With these strange creatures coming ever closer to Ariastor, I might not have the time to wait until you think I'm ready.
All right, let's see the intent here. So your intent, of course, is to get him to do this. You're persuading him. That was clearly a persuade.
Yes, I am.
So the consequence for failing this will be that he does not cave, right? He remains adamant about not about you essentially not being ready, but he also he also says I think he'll say something to the effect of you're not ready, but if you want to prove yourself ready, there is something you could do to prove that. And then next time I will tell you what that is, and you can decide if Shihao sets about proving that he is ready for these kinds of topics of knowledge from his master. Is that an acceptable consequence to you?
Absolutely, that sounds fun.
All right, cool. So give me a persuasion test. The obstacle for this test is do you have persuasion opened? I should ask.
It's being learned.
Okay, so it's being learned. That means you're looking at. You need to deal with conquise wits, but it's doubled. So you need to go into your character sheet, scroll down to where it's being learned, and click the dice there and roll that skill through that now. You roll
I will.
Versus. So before we start talking about forks, before we start talking about obstacles, do you have anything you feel like you can fork in this?
I mean, the only thing I can think of would be that I already have a knowledge of ancient history. I mean, I have a precedent for learning this stuff.
Yeah, you do. I don't feel like that's applicable as a fork because I imagine that he's the one who's been teaching you what you know about ancient history. So he has like a very clear grasp on
That
like,
is
you know
true.
this because I've told you.
How about, and I know it's not a call-on trait, but I am obsessed with ancient magics, and I clearly believe this to be magic.
Yeah, so here, and it's good that you mentioned this. So if I bring up like next time, if you fail this, and I bring up next time, he wants you to do this thing, and this thing is like total bogus and horrible and like annoying, but you need to do it to earn this knowledge, then you could like totally call on your obsession with ancient magics and being like, I'm going to do this horrible bullshit because I'm obsessed with ancient magics, and then that makes your life difficult, and so you earn fate. In this case, though, I don't think so.
Makes sense.
Right.
I'll just roll it flat then.
All right, write in obstacles.
No modifiers.
No modifiers. Obstacle is 7, and it'll auto double.
Base
it.
obstacle 7.
Yeah, and it'll auto double it when you roll through your being learned part of the character sheet.
Base obstacle 14.
Yeah, roll.
That's impossible.
Well, strictly speaking, you could. You got 3 6s. There's a 6 there. You can still make it.
Of course, I want to use a fate. Of course, I want to use a fate.
All right. So spend a fate. You can still make it.
Slash R
1d6 exclamation mark.
1d6 exclamation mark.
Nope.
Nope.
All right. So you have this
Where do I note
conversation.
this? Because I haven't unlocked persuasion yet. So where do I note that I have used a fate on it? Or does it go to will?
This goes towards will.
Okay.
And add another
Noted.
aptitude for your being persuasion that's being learned.
Okay. 3 dots now. I don't know what I need to get to.
It says in the circle.
Oh, 6 then. Halfway there.
Very nice. And then mark a fate towards your will. So the conversation like fades out on that, right? Like you're trying to convince him to teach you, and he turns it around on you instead. He's like, no, I will decide what to teach you, as I have done through all the time we've known each other. And here you are, still alive, far older indeed than many who broached the topic of your craft, and yet not as old as a certain culture. Now you do what I tell you, and you might grow to be half my age, youngster. All the same, I'm not one to deny the flame of knowledge when it burns so bright. If you can prove yourself to me, then maybe I will consider. And we fade out on him, like, on you leaning in and him, like, telling you what it is, but we don't get any audio. I will tell you next time. And
Sure.
we fade in
I
on
like
a
that.
scene. We fade in on a scene of Minnow. Where do we find Minnow? What is he doing?
I will mute it.
Alright,
It happens.
it does.
I don't know what he's doing.
Right, do you have any like idea for like what would we see Minnow do like in the aftermath of the return from your travel?
No idea.
Okay. Then maybe we instead fade in on a scene of Nicholas and you are there with him. Would that suit you better?
I don't really care.
Okay. In that case, then I will fade in on a scene.
No,
of
why
Nicholas.
the hell would he hang out with Nicholas?
I mean, he's the boss, right? I guess.
Yeah, but why would I hang out with him?
That's a good question. But here's what I'll do. We'll go to Nicholas instead, and if you feel like oh yeah, I would totally love for Minnow to be a part of the scene, then we could do so. So Nikki, instead of Minnow, we fade in on a scene of you. Where do we find you, and what are you doing?
I'm conflabbing with Evelyn over the success of her operation over the last 2 weeks.
Sorry, you're what?
Conflab? Never heard of that?
It sounds
No,
naughty.
but it sounds sexual.
It's not. I promise you. I'm conferring with her.
Okay, because what I heard was cunt flapping.
Wow. Wow.
And just like
What the hell?
and just like that, we've gone from PG to 15, like I predicted.
But it sounded like that was what you said. And I was like, what the hell is that? And why are you doing it? I don't want to be a part of that ever.
Okay. Conflab, UK, informal, a discussion.
Okay, good. I think
flap all
we've
you
established
want.
that there is no flapping
stop
going
saying
on.
Yes, can you stop saying that, Aya, please?
Sorry, but now I'm just imagining him using her as an instrument.
No! Do you know what? No, I can't do this.
There
I
we
can't
are.
do this.
It's fine.
I'm so sorry.
We come in on the scene of you like having a conversation with Evelyn. Where do we see this scene like play out? Are you in the hideout, or do we see you like out about in the street, or are you having dinner somewhere? Like what's the scene?
We are. Well, we're not in the hideout for a change, but we are somewhere. We're close by and in a secluded area, so that ordinary people can't hear us talking about these very sensitive matters.
Okay, so maybe we have like a shot of like a road with a horse-drawn cart going by, or like an ox-drawn cart like being pulled by in the foreground, and as like the cart disappears out of the shot, we see like down an alleyway, down a couple of steps, and we see like the two of you like leaned against the building. With no one really around.
Okay. Give me a second. Okay. So, have I been informed? Has she told me all this stuff yet, or are we going to? Okay. Well, you've excelled yourself, my darling.
She smiles and shrugs with like the beaming confidence of someone who always knew what you're saying to be true.
Mm-hmm. Something. Puts us in a good position to keep expanding. Obviously, any opportunity to tread on the Prince's toes is going to be fantastic. You know they're going to, even if you gave them a what for, they're still going to want to counter at some point, and they're not going to pussyfoot around it.
I mean, those guys are a bunch of pussies, so they might as well pussyfoot around it. The point is that they're only going to counterattack as long as we let them. I say let's take the fight to them. They have more corners, they have more people. Heck, they have territory of their own. Why should that be ours?
Indeed. Any suggestions on which areas to start with? Or just go?
Take your pick. If it was up to me, we'd be jumping through their windows and cutting their throats in their sleep right about now. Of course, we'd need to know exactly where that old pissant is keeping his stuff, but all the same, Jacob Swinton is a craven, dickless coward, and I'd be happy to cut his face off for you.
Well, if you do find him and are in that position, by all means, do so. I'm trying to roleplay this, guys. I can't do it when you.
I can't do it when what? When I'm looking?
I can't do it when I've got this constant silliness in the Skype chat.
Oh.
Anyway,
it's not our fault you used a weird word. You know that's dangerous around us.
Remain focused. Sen, you must
Yes.
not fear. Fear is the mind killer.
I don't fear. I exhaust. I huff in exasperation. Anyway, so thinking about this, Nikki says, "I'll come back to you on where to strike next. In the meantime, how's it looking for getting the new shipment distributed among our new suppliers?"
Well, getting the stuff out is much easier now that we have some of it. I should say so. Problem is we have too much of it and not enough hands to sling it, really. It's gonna be trouble, you know. I mean, we always knew that to be the case. But when people get word that we're slinging the stuff on those corners, then people are gonna come. The only problem is if, I don't know, but if people come looking for our stuff in too few places, then it would be easier for the boys in blue to zone in on us.
So, again, the solution is more people on more corners.
We need to do something, she says, and shrugs like... She shrugs with, like, the I'm like hot potato shrug, right? She's like, I don't know, you do it.
Okay. Right. Well, that's all well and good then. As I say, we'll make another move in the next day, at the very least. And I think I have a few ideas of where we can start. Anything else crop up in the 2 weeks?
Not a lot, really. The people were giving me a bit lip about leaving the other places behind, but they fell in line quickly enough. They understand. Some of the newborn, like some of the new, the guys who returned, right? The old crowd that came back, and who I now refer to as the new ones. Some of them have like a bit of trouble with your new tag-ons, the two, the mystery twins. But really, I mean, the others know them by now. It's gonna do fine, I'm sure. We'll keep people in line, break a few noses, scuff a few elbows. This is a new life for a lot of them, you know. They're not used to this kind of... They're not used to playing rough. They're used to playing by sissy rules, she says, looking at you with no sympathy at all. But, hey, they will learn. The others did.
Yeah. I should scold you, really. Those sissy rules, as you put them, have kept us in business long enough as it was.
They've kept us in business, sure, but look around you. We could have taken this place over years ago.
Maybe.
Manning Bridge is an old, ugly, fat woman. She has many, many foals that we could hide in.
Maybe. Or maybe she needed a bit of stirring up with the war. Whatnot. War breeds chaos, chaos breeds business opportunities, and a chance to revel in that chaos and take power when you can get it.
She spits, I should say that, right? She nods, but then she spits. And she says, fucking refugees everywhere. I'm surprised you managed to find an alleyway that isn't clogged with the stench of goats and different kinds of spices, overhanging laundry lines, and fucking full of people with no homes or places to go, hawking their wares and yelling at us that fucking ugly language.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, I should...
Don't you me? You live here too. You must have an opinion on that shit.
Yeah. It's all irritating. It's all... you say, it's different, and difference... it's enough to make your teeth ache. But... well... it's all the fucking same. They're all the same tired, stupid, gullible, or miserable people. They just have the poor, unfortunate disadvantage of being hated because of where they come from as well. Just one extra thing for us to take them out for, just to manipulate them for, just to look down on them for. Not that I'm saying we shouldn't. Just saying it doesn't make that much difference. Besides, they're more desperate. They'll be easier to exploit and get better off from in this case, don't you think? Wouldn't you rather get rid of that smell of goats and spices and fill it with that of narcotics and blood?
She grins at you when you say that, and she nods, right, like the playful head bobbing. She says, "Yeah, well, eventually, when the stench of mud and so on starts washing in from, there will come a time where we open the door to the hideout and there's just some fucking refugees sitting on the doorstep. You know that. They don't show any sign of fucking stopping. I feel like we need to aggressively control our territory. Make sure that we could probably use some of them, right? I mean, you've made good use of the two knuckleheads. Maybe similar knuckleheads could be found. Maybe they know someone. And we can use those to keep the other assholes out. Stake the claim to our actual territory. That way we don't have to deal with that shit out in front of our place, and they'll have to go to the others and clog up their business. Plus,
Sounds
it's a lot of
reasonable.
more unfortunate souls we can sell to.
Yeah.
We won't be needing for desperation, that much for sure.
Yeah. You have a fantastic point on that one. And it's something like a wee like me can deal with. After all, it's all about talking, innit? Convincing them. First by words and then by deeds. He looks over at Evelyn with a knowing look now, emphasizing when he says deeds.
I think she gets what you're saying, right? She pulls 2 daggers from a place by her hips and does like the equivalent of a Texas Ranger gun twirl with the blades, and then puts them back again.
Yes. Pad out the ranks. Keep the undesirables out.
You say the word, I'll make it happen. As long as the words you're saying are, well, as long as what you're saying has the same amount of balls as what you've been saying recently. And she nudges you, right? She shoulder checks you.
Evelyn, darling, I love you to bits. And I think you do absolutely fine at it. But quite frankly, I want you sticking to beating up and cutting up gangers and people worthy of your time and talent. Let me be dealing and miring myself hip deep in the scum and see what I can sort out myself. Besides, we're equals in this, aren't we? You get to do what you think is fun, and I get to do what I think is necessary. That way we all work out.
Well, her face breaks in like a wide smile. Yeah, sure, of course. Just make sure you lend me that big log once in a while.
Which one?
Don't you fucking dare, she says, slaps you on the arm. Not that, I said lug, not log. The twin with hair.
Ah, right, yeah.
One of them who can actually stand up in the one that can stand up when the breeze is blowing.
Sure.
Oh! I heard log.
Well, just as long as
I still want to shoot lightning at her.
Shut up. Just because you can't stand up in a breeze.
Just so long as it's you're working together on the field, not, well, let's just say that I think he's been making eyes at you.
What is this? And she I think she completely steps into your personal space, and gets really up and physical with you. It's what is this? Is that the sweet stench of jealousy? I expected better, Nikki.
And he answers it, and even though he is probably a little thinner and shorter than she is, he sort of gets up as well.
She's definitely shorter than you are.
Okay, he's thinner, but he still looks. He gets up as well and rolls with it. And says, and what if it is? What if I do feel a bit like that? What if I do feel I'm being down in that way?
Well,
what would you say I do about it?
Well, she says, probably slinging a finger around a strap on your shirt, the strap you're tied and pulling a bit on you. It's if it was me, I'd say you'd do one of 2 things, I guess. If it's the old dickless Nicholas, I guess you would write a plan about it. And you would think on it and ruminate and consider all the ins and outs, and eventually you decide to do nothing about it. She smiles at you teasingly. Or you could keep showing stones, and you can go and tell him how you feel about it.
Pretty please do it.
I'm fine with either, but I won't say I don't have a preference for one of them.
Well, I think we'll find out which one's going to be which one we're going to go for first. But before that, I think I'd like to see if there's any way I can remind you why we are still together. How does that sound?
It sounds like you'll be picking me up at sundown.
picking you up and then laying you down and doing such wonderful things to you.
She checks you again, right? She like shoves you like on the shoulder, like gives you a slap, like stop. Wear something nice.
Don't have much. Tell you what, I'll steal something nice just for you.
She grins at you, and I think like she takes that as a sign like that the conversation is over, and she turns to leave.
Yep. No more from me. That's good. She can go.
Okay.
Shall we move on to the final member of our little
sure.
trio?
If AJ has something like where she wants to show us Minnow.
Not something that won't be lengthy.
That's fine. Whatever you've
So
got.
we can wait till next time.
Okay, I'm okay with that. In that case, we could wrap up now, and we'll get back to like so the we can take like a brief scene of like what Minnow's doing like before we for real start up like next session. We can start like a little pre-session next session. We can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get to that next time. But for this session, I guess there's not really like there's no need to really dole out fate or persona. I feel like that would be doing like the Arthur system discredit essentially. Although I actually think, now that I think about it, I think Shihao, you explicitly set up that scene to chase a belief of yours, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's have a look at that. Yeah, totally. You're finding out more secrets from your teacher. Damn right, I will make him tell me what he knows. Yeah, okay, yeah, take a fate, Shihao.
Gladly. I'll just leave the belief in though, because that's not yet resolved.
Sure. I mean, it's not resolved, right? You don't earn persona, but take a fate for pursuing it. Cool. Anyone else like in this like Chris? Do you feel like you brought up something that is fate worthy in these like 10 minutes?
I do not.
Okay. Well, that's fine. We got some traits, we got some reputations, and we set the scene for like we just found out what happened with your organization in your absence, and we know like kind of the lay of the land for when we start up next time. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining me this session, I guess. Did you like what happened this session? Like, did you like the turnout of the trade and reputation vote? Does everything make sense to all of you?
It definitely makes sense, and I think it was a nice way to go about your characters. I'm a little sad that I don't get to vote on my own character, because, you know, I like to have some say in my own character, but that's about it.
Yeah, and I get that. You do get some say in your own character by virtue of you getting to propose, like, you get to nominate your character for traits. And of
But
course,
not when they're taken away.
yeah, you get to nominate your character for traits too, right? For losing traits.
But not if you nominate a trait that I don't agree
that
with.
way. That's true. But in that case, right, if I nominate a trait to go away, it has to be unanimous, right? Everyone at the table agrees that this is not something we've seen from your character. And at that point,
I guess
there's not
that is
really
true.
much use in arguing the point, right? If you want to bring it up, you can then totally do so in the future.
No, I mean, I'll just
shoot for
work
spooky.
towards getting that trait again.
Yeah, hell yeah. Shoot for spooky.
I will shoot for spooky.
Damn right. Big fan. Yeah, any other comments, or do we just round it off?
No, I'm good.
It takes too long.
It does take a long while. The book informed me that it would be liable to take an entire session. So it was completely expected that it would take a long time. But that's also why we only do it like at the end of the campaign or at the end of like an adventure or within like a 6 to 12 episode arc. So yeah, that's why it doesn't crop up that often. Now, keep in mind that you can still get traits outside of the trait vote. I can just give you traits if I feel like you totally get a trait now, which would be like for very obvious, like there is no arguing this point. This is a trait. Things like if you lose a hand, I will give you the maimed trait, right? These are things that
makes
happen.
sense.
But outside of that, we just vote on it based on how you play. And again, keep in mind that if you have like an idea for a trait that you want, like you read in the book and you see like there's an aura of holiness trait. There is, in fact, I think it's an aura like of righteousness or something. I don't know. There's a couple of auras. Let's say you for some reason decided that you wanted your character to exude an aura of holiness. Then like you could start actively angling for that in play by being like, I want to go for this trait now, so I think my character does this thing, and it like looks like this, and I do this thing, and I try and invoke this feeling. Like you can do that, and we will all like as players take note of you saying like, oh, you're angling for this thing, and you're doing these things. Okay, and then that will be fresh in our like that will come up in our memory when next we vote for traits. Don't be afraid to engage the mechanical aspect of this game. This is very much like a game where it's not about your characters, it's about your characters and you, the players, playing the characters. You have just as much say as they do.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, yeah. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. This was fun. And let's, we'll return with more Burning Wheel in the next session we play. And for you, dear viewing audience, thank you very much for tuning in to Burning Wheel. And yeah, as I mentioned, there will be more on the channel. So if you like the episode, if you like what's going on here, leave a comment. If you want to discuss something that happened, leave a comment. If you disliked what you saw, well, tell us. We might be able to do something about it. We might not, but hey, who knows? Leave a like, dislike, subscribe to the channel if you like role-playing games, and keep it real. Yeah. We'll see you next time. Bye!